Good morning, everyone, or afternoon, depending on where you're watching from, or good evening, because we've had folks from all over the place, all over the world, literally. Welcome to another Monday live stream on my channel. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. We are actually broadcasting nicely from TikTok this week. So, one camera, I can talk to the camera. I'm talking to everybody. TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. Instagram has been acting up lately. So I'm actually not live streaming this week, but hopefully we'll address that for next week. But do me a favor, let me know where you're watching this from. I really appreciate it. Love to know where folks are watching from. We get people from all over the globe tuning in to these live streams. Yeah, and maybe some people are going to be late to this one because I accidentally put the wrong time online. Because for whatever reason, Jeremy can't calculate time. And I get confused when I say 11 p.m. Pacific or 10 a.m. Pacific. I don't know what the deal is. I can't do time. So what happens, Kevin, you know the deal. When you travel and you jump around time zones, you just get confused. Oh, Lord have mercy. I was in Murfreesboro last week. Murfreesboro is how it's written, but Murfreesboro. Frank, what is happening? Thanks for tuning in. Frank's a good friend, works for Stalls. I actually hunted him down in the airport on Thursday. We were both flying home from Nashville. We were both doing different things in Nashville, and I hunted him down and found him at his gate, sleeping. But yeah, so I was in Murfreesboro, Tennessee last week. How many of y'all have cities that don't sound like they're written? Like we have Prescott, not Prescott, here in Arizona. It said Murfreesboro is how it's written. And so I said that wrong once, and once is all I needed to do to say it wrong to be corrected. But yeah, it was a great time. I was in a shop where they're doing some pretty neat stuff. Like their storefront was busy all day. And Frank, actually, I think she's doing something similar to what Misty does. Frank's wife, Misty, has a print shop in Houston, Texas. And they allow people to come in and like press stuff. And so they sell shirts, blank shirts. So this shop in Murfreesboro, they had it's called the vinyl room, and they had a lot of like vinyl stuff because that's what they started out as, but then they've expanded doing a lot of DTF, and actually that's the majority of what they do now. But she sells shirt blanks in her showroom. Her showroom is very nice. She's got all the colors like arranged nice and beautiful gradient. I filmed some stuff that I'll make a short for TikTok or YouTube shorts at some point. And but yeah, gorgeous studio. But the reason I was out there, and I'm trying to pull something out here real quick. The reason I was out there is because they have two DTF printers. One of them is a 4-head, maybe like 2 years old printer, maybe a little bit older. And then they just added a 2-head i3200 printer to their stable. And but it was a brand new one, so they wanted me to come out and color profile both of them. And they were also having some like finicky problems with their 4-head, and so I went out to basically profile both machines, try to match them. I've had success matching machines that were like same generation, but this was my first time matching different generation printers. So yeah, so I went out. I was there 3 days because I was installing a new machine and then profiling 2 machines. And it usually takes a full day, like solid 6 to 8 hours to do a really good color profile, because it's not just print up a bunch of swatches and scan them. Like, yes, that'll get you a better result than you currently have if you don't have a custom ICC. But if you don't spend the time like optimizing all of the steps, all of the ink limits, the dot sizes, all these different kind of steps, and then scanning over 2,000 swatches per machine, you don't get a really great result. We got a great result. So this was printed, and obviously it's going to be hard to tell on the camera here because cameras like to do weird things to to the output, but these were printed on two completely different printers, and they look just identical to each other, literally identical. And so that was a huge success. Now, I will tell you, like, I can match multiple machines. So four-head printer and two-head printer. And look at like the green of the Hulk in there or the red of Iron Man. Yeah. So you couldn't tell when we were looking at them after we printed them out. Now, I will say that to do a color match between printers, if you're using like Digital Factory, you need to have the same ink, because the ink is the biggest factor in how colors come out. I know Neo Stampa, I can do color matching with different printers with different ink sets, because they have the ability to like find the lowest common denominator between the two and balance those things out. But with Digital Factory, as long as you're running the same ink set, I can get a color match on different machines. Obviously, I think if it was like using different print heads, I might have to take a little more work to get it done, but it'll work. So anyway, all right, so let's get into the demo for today. We're talking about distressed, vintage, worn kind of textures. That is a very popular design trend right now. It was huge in the early 2000s, coming back with kind of that grunge look or whatever. But a distressed texture is actually it's really awesome for DTF producers, because it creates a knockout, and that knockout makes the shirt or the graphic feel softer on the shirt. So let's show how we do a vintage or distressed look. And I'm going to show you guys in Photoshop today, because we have a couple resources on our website, colorgamutconsulting.com, where you can purchase brush packs. So a pack of brushes that do a vintage or distressed texture. We also sell some vintage or distressed texture JPEGs and Illustrator files. Now, you can do any kind of vintage, worn, distressed texture off of anything, like just go find one online. But I will say that you get into some nuance. If it's like too small of details, it doesn't knock out enough to make the print softer. And if you do too big of details or too big of distresses, it will kind of like mess the whole thing up. So let's do this. Let's go to Photoshop. Let's see if everything worked right over on TikTok. Just verifying TikTok. Oh yeah, it worked. Sweet. So distressed texture. We're going to use brushes for this distressed texture. And this brush pack can be purchased on our website, colorgamutconsulting.com. It's $6. And it's not a lot, but anything like this is how you can help this channel. Obviously, we do a lot of education stuff, and education doesn't bring in a ton of money. But this is one of the ways you can support the channel, is by buying the stuff on our site, like these brush packs. There's going to be more stuff as we grow the site, and as we grow our content, there's going to be more options and opportunities. But here's how you're going to do it. So first thing you need to do is you need to make sure this is sized properly. Always, always, always make sure it's sized properly before you start getting into it. So we're going to go image size. This thing is currently 72 DPI. Shocker. That's what a lot of stuff is. And 5 inches. I'm actually going to make this 9 inches. This will resize fine in here because it's not like a photo. Photos don't resize very nicely, but like artwork and things like this do resize fairly nicely. And then Command or Control 0 just refits it inside of the window there. All right, so here's how the brushes work. So we're going to make a layer mask over this, because we really don't want to destroy the current. We don't want to do anything that we can't. We could always do undo, but we don't want to damage it. So we're going to go over here and select our brush. Currently a pencil. Let's select the brush tool. And I'm going to go to window, brushes. Now, when you download, there's a video online on my YouTube channel that shows you how to download the brush pack. The thing that's unique about my brush pack is that it doesn't create any semi-transparent pixels. Most brushes create semi-transparent pixels around the edges. Mine do not. They just create beautiful, 100% opaque, 100% transparent pixels, because that's what we need to do for DTF. So you can already see the brush here. Now I've sized these to work well at 300 DPI and then whatever size. So when you resized this image, it was to make it work well with this brush pack. So we got a couple different brush packs. We got like an angled texture here. We got a cracked kind of mud looking texture here. So this is kind of a big blocky one. And you just swipe over it and you got your knockout. Now, my favorite one is this burnt wood texture. This is my favorite of the ones that I made. But yeah, you just swipe it back and forth. Doesn't have to be like super crazy, nothing, just very simple. And then let's pretend we're gonna put this on a black shirt. So let's make a black fill color for the background. And there we go. Like the brush texture or the brushes makes it like super, super simple. So let's just delete that layer mask and let's try another one. Let's do one of the other brushes. Let's try the sporadic texture. We'll see what that one looks like. And when you're using these brushes on layer masks, you just want to make sure that your color is set to black, because black is what goes away, white shows through. So yeah, that one's also another favorite of mine. But so the brush packs, that's going to be a really easy way to just do it quickly and simply. And I'll zoom in to show you guys. Ain't no semi-transparent pixels in there. Beautiful. Wonderful. Now, let's say you did have a texture file that you downloaded from the internet or you bought from our website. I got texture overlays as well, but let's just grab one of those texture files. I'm going to open up my Finder window here and then try to remember where I saved it. Let's see. Let's go off screen for finding this thing. Demo images, texture files. There we go. All right. So I'm going to open up one of these texture files. Let's go with the burnt wood, because that's the one I liked before. And we're opening it up in Photoshop. Again, this works with any kind of texture. So what you want from your texture is you want it to be, like I said, kind of sporadic like this, kind of like some bigger areas, some smaller areas. But the biggest thing here is whatever your texture is, you need it to be all black or all white. If your texture pack has some gray in it, when you create the layer mask with it, it's going to create some semi-transparent pixels. So you really need to do textures in black and white, like 100% black, 100% white. You can either do that here in the file that you're going to move over as layer mask, or you can do it in the layer mask after you've messed around with it. So basically, I'm just going to go Command or Control A to select everything, Command or Control C to copy it. Go back over to my original image. We've already got a layer mask here. And so I'm going to click on that layer mask to make sure it's selected. Hold down Option or Alt and click on the layer mask. And then we're going to paste, Command or Control V. Now, right now, that's kind of big. And I can move it around a little bit. I'm going to shrink it down just a hair. And I think that'll probably look good. Click off of it. And there we are. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now, I did resize it a bit, which sometimes introduces semi-transparent pixels. Sure enough, it did. Plus, also, like I said, if you bring in another texture file, it's very likely it's going to add or create some semi-transparent pixels. So how do we fix that? We just click on the layer mask and we go to Image, Adjustments, Threshold. That gets rid of those semi-transparent pixels. So if you're using a texture file that you found on the internet or that you've created yourself and you end up with some gray pixels in there in that layer mask, we can get rid of that by just using that threshold function. So that's how you do it in Photoshop. You know what? Since that went pretty quickly, if you all have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat and I'll answer them, whether it's about this or other topics. But let's go ahead, and I hadn't prepared for it, but let's do it from Illustrator. Let's do one in Illustrator. So let's take, this will be a fun image. We're going to do like a combo knockout with this one. So this one, if I were to put on a black shirt, it's going to look pretty dope. We need to get rid of the black to do it, but we can also do a textured overlay on it. And so in that same, these are the texture files you get when you buy it off of our website, colorgamutconsulting.com. These are the texture files you get. There's JPEGs, and then Illustrator vector files of these. So let's do the cracked mud. Let's open up that. And then you're going to notice here, I'm going to click on it and look at that. Beautiful, nice texture. Let's make sure I actually did zero it out for the color. Yep, it is 100% black. This is grayscale, I think, in here is how it's functioning. All right, so I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to go back to my original. I'm going to paste it. Okay, if I click off of it, it's kind of big, chunky. I don't like the big, chunky. I think that loses its effect a little bit. So I'm just going to resize it here. And the cool thing about this is you can resize it, squeeze it, distort it. It doesn't really hurt anything. Ooh, I kind of like that, but I want to turn it slightly. Yeah, I think I like the way that's going to look. That'll look cool. Sweet. So now how do I get rid of all of that? Well, so two things. One, I left this color as black, and I'm already going to knock out the black color. So this function is going to be a little bit easier than if you had like a different color background. But for me right now with the black, I'm just going to select everything. I'm going to check. We do have some strokes in here. There are some strokes in this file, and this function or this step doesn't work unless you get rid of all the strokes. So the way we do that is we go to Object, Path, Outline Stroke. And then we're going to go to Object, Expand, and then we're going to go to the Pathfinder window. If you don't have it over here on the side tab, you can go to Window, Pathfinder. And then we're going to use this function here under Pathfinder called Merge. What this does is basically kind of like takes all the shapes that are sitting on top of each other and kind of like cookie cutters them out of each other. And so like if like, trying to think the best way to say it. Let me just show you what happens. You click on it. Sometimes it takes a second to do it, but basically it cuts out everything. Frank, it's a great question. So Frank's got a question over on the live stream. TikTok, you won't be able to see these questions as they pop up. I still haven't figured that piece out yet. But do distress filters add or reduce resolution or file size? They do nothing to the resolution. Ultimately, when you're distressing, you're just cutting out parts of the image that's there. And so it shouldn't affect the resolution at all. It should still be 300 dpi. It should still be the same file size. We're just simply creating a distressed texture over it, not necessarily removing like resolution from the file. I hope that makes sense. All right. So the next step here to get rid of all the black, we're going to use the A tool, which is your direct select tool. Or sorry, your have it pop up. Come on. So V is the direct select tool. A is the direct select tool. I called it the right thing and then I second guessed myself. So we're going to select the black. We're going to go up here to select same fill color. Selects all the black in there. I'm just going to delete it. That black must have been a different color. So in this case, we had a slightly different color for that texture. I probably should have double checked when I brought it into this file. Here's a quick note. You just saw it happen in real time. When you convert from CMYK to RGB or RGB to CMYK, it will tweak with some of the colors like the black. I bet when I brought it into this file from a CMYK file into this RGB, it converted it to what's called registration black. So my black won't be 0000 on the RGB, even though it was 100% black in the CMYK. So let's go back here and I'll show you what I mean by that. If I look at this color here, I have a sneaking suspicion it's still showing up as that. It's showing up as a different color inside of Illustrator. So anyway, fill color, select fill color, delete. There we go. Awesome. And that's it. Now we have an image with a bunch of distress so that this is going to feel a lot lighter, a lot softer. And if we want to double check our work to make sure it didn't like destroy the overall look of it, I'm just going to create a little rectangle box back here. I'm going to move it to the back. And there we are. That's what it's going to look like when we print it out on a black shirt. So that's cool, vintagey, distressed kind of look to that design. And again, right now, that vintage or distressed look is a really popular design style. So it's kind of nice that a popular on-trend design style helps DTF to feel softer and better. So awesome. And again, those texture packs are all available on my website, colorgamutconsulting.com. You can download the brush pack. You can also download the texture files. Those are two separate, $6 each for the packs. Brush pack is $6. Texture files is $6. Again, not a ton, just a little bit. Again, trying to help support the channel and what we do here. I'm going to leave some time for questions. So if you have questions, make sure you get them in the chat, whether you're on TikTok or on YouTube or LinkedIn. Let me know if you guys have any questions. While we're waiting for some of those questions to come in, got to shout out the channel sponsor of these live streams, DTF Station. You got the Prestige R2 Pro looking pretty sweet over there. Yeah, so huge shout out to them for supporting this channel and education. That's something they're passionate about, something I'm passionate about. They've got a full line of printers from little A4 type desktops to this guy, which is a desktop, but it's i1600 print head. So it does about 30 to 35 square feet an hour. So it's kind of like a low-level production situation or a low-level production printer. They also have all the way up to 4-head i3200 printers, and they do have extended color gamut printers. So they've got the full range of stuff. Also, if you guys have purchased the Epson, the new Epson DTF printer, DTF Station has a dryer shaker that runs on 110 that will handle the full width of that Epson printer. So they've got a full line of stuff. They also have film, ink, and then a UV DTF. And actually, I believe Frank's wife, who's watching on the channel, she has a DTF Station UV printer. So the UV DTF. And yeah, so y'all, if you got questions, ask them. It always happens. I get to the end, I cover my topic, and then there's like no questions. And then as we're getting ready to sign off, we get like this flood of questions. So yeah, crazy morning as I couldn't figure out the time that I should be broadcasting. Now, next week, exciting news. Next week, I'm going to Minnesota. My son lives there, so I'll get to see my son. But I'm also doing some training. I'm going to get G7 certified, G7 Plus certified, which G7 is a print certification, color profiling certification for the print industry as a whole, not just DTF. But yeah, I think that I already kind of, like, obviously I can do good job with color profiling, but having the certification, I think it'll just level up my skill set and what I'm able to produce and do for people in their shops, and also hopefully teach better and teach more of the information better. So I'm pretty stoked to do that, but I'm not leaving till after the live stream. So we will be back here next Monday for our usual live stream spot. And also keep an eye out on DTF Station's social media. I'll be doing a webinar for their dealers this Friday or next Friday. So keep an eye on DTF Station's social media channels as we promote and advertise that. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to call it. Oh, and there it goes. Of course it is. Is there degradation in resolution when emailing artwork? Yeah. So if you're using like Apple Mail or like email, and you attach an image to an email, it asks you what size you want to like share that in. And if you don't say actual size, it will send a compressed version of it. So yeah, I find it better to use like Google Drive or Dropbox to share graphics. PDFs, it won't do that, but it will do it on PNGs. And I'll actually, let's see if I can show it. Let's see if we can do it. Let's try this. Let's create a new email. Let's go like this. See if I can show you guys. All right. So let's pretend I'm going to send an email to Color Gamut Consulting. Print this, Jeremy. All right. Let's take this file that we just made. I'm going to hide the background layer. File, export as. We're going to export it as a PNG, 2700 pixels. Export. Let's go to our desktop real quick, just so I know where it's at. And then back here to the email. And I'm going to drop it in here and see what it does. Here it is. So I'm sure other email softwares have a similar function. So if I do actual size, it should come through the actual size. But if I do any of these, watch the message size right here. It's going to reduce dramatically. Goodness gracious. Yeah. So let's do large size. I can already see. On my computer monitor here, I can see how much lower the resolution went on it. But let's email it to myself, and then I'm going to open it up in Photoshop and see how much it screwed it up. But Boyd, you didn't miss it. Your boy said the wrong time. If you got a question, Boyd, you can ask questions. We're still going. We're still live streaming. But yeah, I messed up on the time today. I was thinking it was 11 o'clock. Again, y'all, I can't do the time thing. All right, let's see if I got my email from myself. There we go. There's the email I got from myself. Let's download this. Save all. I'm going to save this to the downloads. All right. Now let's open it up and see. Why did it do it as a JPEG? Did I save that original one as a JPEG? Hold on, y'all. No, what the? It converted it to JPEG. It converted it to a JPEG when I resized it. What the actual heck? This is why you don't trust a mail program. Yeah, look how much smaller that is. At 300 DPI, it's 3.2 inches. So yeah. So Frank, to answer your question, yeah, yes, there is 100% image degradation when you email if you're not careful. And I'm sure that a lot of email programs default to shrinking your image because they're trying to optimize space, mailbox size, stuff like that. So that's a good point. I'll have to see if there's some other email programs that I can test and see if they do that as a default, because that's actually a great topic to cover. But honestly, the best way is to upload your images to either like a gang sheet builder on the, like, if you're like, have your customers either load it to a gang sheet builder or have them share it via like a Google Drive or a Dropbox, or create your own upload portal. I know that there are plugins and options for Shopify, for WooCommerce, and some of the other ones where you can create a file upload portal, basically where somebody can go and upload the file, because that's the best way to get the full original size, is by uploading the original file. But that's a good catch, Frank, and I'm gonna have to make some video about that or something. All right, Boyd, you got a question coming in. How to get polished artwork in PSP and are those your nicknames for Photoshop and Illustrator? PSP and Illy? Nice. Yep. It's kind of what I figured was happening. Google Drive is permission restricted, but when you share a file on it, you can make it available to anyone. You just right click on it, and when you share, you say copy link, and then you say, instead of restricted, say open to anyone. And that's actually how, like, there's folks that I do there's folks that I do artwork stuff for, so like halftones and some other artwork type things. And I've literally just created folders in my Dropbox that they have access to, or folders in my Google Drive that they have access to, and they can always go on and download whatever new stuff I upload on there. What do you mean by polished? Just, you're talking about just good quality edges and stuff like that? If you want a polished effect where it gives it a little bit of like a sheen. Honestly, the biggest thing for Photoshop is making sure you're editing in 300 DPI. That is the biggest thing. Because if you're not editing in 300 DPI, your print quality is going to be trash. When it comes to Illustrator, it comes down to kind of like how the artwork was built. If you're buying Illustrator files or downloading illustrators or vectors from like some of the free sites and stuff like that, you get what you pay for. So if you're getting free vectors from like Vecteezy and stuff like that, sometimes those things are trash. I will tell you, my favorite resource and the reason my stuff looks so good is because all of my stuff I get from Adobe stock. So let me show you where that stuff is. So let's go over here. I'm going to go to, bring this down here so you guys can see it. This is Adobe stock. And the reason I like Adobe stock over all the other ones is they do have paid stuff, but they also have a ton of free stuff. No, Boyd, I am not drawing from scratch. I am not that good. I may be able to like manipulate artwork, but I am in no way, shape, or form an artist. I can't draw for nothing. I can't draw anything. But what I do use, like I said, is Adobe stock. So, and again, the reason I like it is because the free stuff is in the free section. The paid stuff is in the paid section. There's no like wondering if it's free or not. So like, let's what's a fun, let's do a new monkey. Let's see what we got for monkeys in free. Okay. So let's go to, we're already at images. Let's select vectors only. Sweet, there's a bunch of fun little monkeys. But yeah, pretty much all of the graphics I use on my videos as tutorials, I get from Adobe stock. You could also create them yourself using like AI stuff, whether it's Midjourney or Adobe's Firefly or things like that. But yeah, this is a fun image, and it's free. This one's free. Now, if you wanted at the bottom here, I'm going to scroll all the way down. It says, "Hey, if you don't like these results, we have other ones." So yeah, so I like this, and if there's something you're looking for, you can kind of put it into the search and be like, let's see, let's go with a cool monkey. Probably gonna have sunglasses. Yep, shocker. So yeah, so there's a lot, and these are all free. Everything you're looking at here is free. They're royalty free. They're from Adobe. You don't have to worry about because a lot of those other free sites, you might get stuff that's not actually royalty free. So yeah, so there's a bunch of fun stuff on here. Let's go try this. I'm a big space nerd. Rocket ship. There you go. These are all free vectors you can work with. Some of them will be like they're vector files, but some of them will download as a JPEG. Usually they keep those in photos or illustrations, but let's go see what illustrations give us. Yeah. So now these should be also vectors. Let's take a look at, let's see. Ooh, I like this. That's fun. Is that a JPEG? Yeah, this one comes in as a JPEG. So when you do vectors, everything should be, oops, everything should be vector only, or you can also download as a JPEG. But yeah, so Boyd, this is where I get all of my artwork that I use for my videos. Literally all of my artwork. I am not a good enough artist to draw it myself. And I do use AI to generate some stuff sometimes, but I feel like there's better resources out there, like better stuff than I create. So that's kind of what I end up doing most of the time. But hope that answered your question. I'm not a great artist, but where I lack in artistry, I excel in knowing how this stuff works and knowing how to get really great color and knowing how to match color on different machines. Glorious. Anyway, y'all, thanks so much for tuning into this week's live stream. Next week, I will be right at 10 o'clock Pacific time, 1 o'clock Eastern time. So here's the thing, Boyd. 1950s comics books were halftone. Like that's kind of what they did because they didn't have the ability to do some fades and stuff like that. But yeah, maybe I'll look for something like that. Or if you find something like that, send it to me. But yeah, any kind of those poster style things tend to be really fun to work with. The dot matrix. Estevan, what you saying? Hey, Estevan. Not digitally. Well, yeah, those 1950s were no, sorry, you're right. They weren't done digitally. They were done with like old presses. Hey, Estevan, do you see something familiar? Yeah, old school comic books. Yep. So this, guys, now Estevan hasn't released this video yet, but Estevan and I made a coffee mug. This is with DTF Station's UV DTF printer. So now I will tell you, I am the one that put the sticker on, and it did not. I did not do that very good. It is very crooked. But literally, we took a picture with a phone, used the iPhone to like remove the background, threw it in DigiRip and printed it all in like a couple minutes. So keep an eye on All American Print Supplies channel. They'll be releasing, I think there's supposed to be a short of that coming out at some point in time, but it has its own little special place right there. Little Estevan's always in the videos. Anyway, okay, that's it. I'll wrap it up, guys. Yeah. So Boyd, send me something. If there's an image that you've seen out there, but yeah, that might be a fun thing to do with some old 50s comics or some older style stuff. What's happening, Custom Journey? Yeah, so people are rolling in because I put the wrong time. Whoop. My camera almost fell over because I pounded on the desk because I picked the wrong time. Darn it. Okay, so I got videos to make. I got to batch a bunch of stuff because I got a busy few weeks coming up. But a couple of things are coming out on the channel. A full video on how to use the vectorizer.ai tool. Doing a video on optimizing white underbase. Also starting a series on the hierarchy of softness. So basically, what are all of the different things that kind of play into how soft stuff can feel. So running around like a chicken with my head cut off sometimes, Boyd. But we here every Monday. Thank you all so much for watching. I want to wrap it up for reals this time. Again, thank you so much for watching. See you guys next Monday, 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock East Coast, and some random time on the other side of the world. Y'all, thanks so much for watching. See you next week. Bye.